Hi guys, Hannu TheHande here. Okay, so it looks like I managed to squeeze a couple of more videos out of the new adventures of He-Man. In the past, I've ranked Skeletor's henchmen and the Horsemen, and now I decided that I was going to do the same for the Evil Mutants and the Galactic Guardians. Doing the Evil Mutants was a bit of a no-brainer. We're basically going to be using the exact same format as before. I'm just going to take all of the Evil Mutant characters from the new adventures and make a ranking out of that. And then I'm going to try to make another video about the Galactic Guardians. I'm still kind of working out the fine details of that one. So we'll see what becomes of that. Alright, let's talk about first who is not eligible for this ranking. First of all, this weird lizard mutant you see in a number of episodes because he literally doesn't have a name. I mean, I even tried looking it up on Wikipedia, he's not listed. He doesn't have any voice lines, and I don't remember him ever doing anything important. Secondly, Skeletor is obviously not a mutant, so he doesn't get to be in the ranking either. And Gurr was a bit of a problem case, but I kind of look at Gurr the same way I look at Clobber, except Gurr actually is kind of adorable. But he's really just Skeletor's sidekick. So yeah, I didn't feel it was fair to include him. Alright, now let's get on with the ranking. At number 8, Optic. Optic has the most terrifying voice of all the Evil Mutants, and that is literally his entire importance as a character. Even though he did take a weirdly active role in Mutiny on the Mothership, and he was one of the mutants who got power-ups in the game's story arc. I mean, you guys already know, he really has no personality. He's just this weird background character. I guess he's supposed to be some kind of a radarsman, but throughout the series, he never really did anything of absolute importance, and his lack of personality also makes him kind of a bland character. I think it's a completely uncontroversial opinion to say he's the least interesting of all the mutants, and that's why he ends up at number 8. Now, number 7 is a double entry, Karate and Hoof. Karate and Hoof, I think, are characters, however, who maybe got shortchanged in appearances, because I think there was potential here for these guys to actually be interesting characters, but because they literally only have spoken lines in a handful of episodes, mostly towards the series beginning and the end, we never really got to see them at their best. Karate did at least have a one-on-one battle with He-Man, and almost won, which is kind of weird. But yeah, he's a nation stereotype character, so that's one strike against him. Now, Hoof actually showed some gumption during the beginning of the game's story arc, and he had a few voice lines here and there. But literally all the other Evil Mutants had a much more pronounced presence throughout the series, so this is really why he never got the spotlight. Now all that said and done, one of these guys knows karate, that's literally his entire gimmick, and Hoof is at least a skilled pilot, and seems to have at least one brain cell more than half the mutant army. But yeah, not the most memorable characters, and I couldn't really definitively put one character over the other. I mean, even though Karate did beat He-Man once, I don't think he's really that much more interesting than Hoof, so that's why a double entry. At number 6, Quake. Quake is a character who had a very big presence at the start of the series, kind of appearing out of nowhere during the episode plot Sword and Staff, and then he kept having background appearances for a really long while after this. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think Quake has a really ridiculous sounding voice, and it's kind of hard to take him a bit seriously, but that's also kind of what I like about him. Not a surprise here, I kind of like the goofy mutants more than the serious ones. His characterization is a little bit all over the place. At times he's very level-headed and kind of shows signs of intelligence, but then half the other time he's just a muscle-bound brute. And I think that is kind of the problem and the reason I had to put him on the bottom half of the ranking. Also, I gotta say, Quake's color scheme is weird. And let's not forget, he carries around a club that is basically just a clamp holding a giant fucking boulder. Yeah, Quake can be a bit difficult to take seriously sometimes, which is why I decided to put him on this end of the ranking. Plus, unfortunately, much like Karate and Hoof, he got kind of sidelined towards the latter half of the series. At number 5, Staghorn. Now, let me get one thing straight here. I don't like Staghorn. He's actually probably one of my least favorite Evil Mutants, but I have to put him this high in the ranking because unlike the first 4 mutants that I mentioned on this ranking, Staghorn definitely had a much more pronounced presence in the series. Let's not forget, he's the guy who started the Mutiny on the Mothership. And there was definitely at least an effort to make him into the arch nemesis of Segatar, but I gotta be honest, Jack Olesker didn't do a particularly good job. In the backstory of the series, Staghorn apparently organized some kind of attack on Segatar's people. This is mentioned a handful of times in the series, but never explicitly shown, which is why their conflict always felt a little artificial. And also, why the hell is he a space Australian? I can definitely imagine this guy and Chase from Dragon Ball Z just having a beer with each other. Plus, for his fair exterior, he's just kind of whatever. He never really seems to have any luck in battles. At the very least, he has a few funny lines. So yeah, Staghorn might be prominent, but not one of my favorites. At number 4, BH, aka Butthead. Now you already probably saw this coming, but yes, the silly mutants are my favorites. Butthead really is just a mindless brute. And a pretty big dumbass, but that's exactly what makes him so funny. There's just this childlike innocence to him that I'm always attracted to. He doesn't seem to understand what's going on half the time, and even though it's a little bit overdone, I do have to give credit to Scott McNeil's voice performance, because every single time I see Butthead on screen, I just smile. Now, is Butthead a good character? Maybe not. Is he a funny character? Absolutely. Is he an important character? Well, not really. I mean, he did have a critical role in the assassination plot in Glasnost Smasnost, but even then they kind of treated it as a bit of a joke. But it probably surprises no one that I like Butthead way more than any of the characters that I've talked about so far, which is why he got this high up on the ranking. And I think deservedly so. At number 3, Krita, the only female mutant. Krita is also one of the more level-headed ones, and of course she got her own big story arc during the Mike Gleanon conflict. And the series really made no secrets that she was Skeletor's love interest in this series as well. The main thing I like about Krita, however, is just how versatile she is. She's a communications officer, she knows about ancient Earth rock music, she can fly a spaceship, and she basically takes control of an entire military towards the end of the series. And whereas I think the series honestly just did a horrible job with the Staghorn-Segatar rivalry, surprisingly they actually made the Krita-Mara rivalry work way better, considering how little these characters interacted with each other during the first half of the series. Now granted, that might be just because most of the episodes where Krita and Mara did battle happened almost back to back with each other, but Krita is just way more versatile of a character than any of the ones I mentioned up to this point, which is why her place in the top 3 was pretty much secured. But I do have to say, during the first half of the series, Krita's role was still pretty minimal, and largely limited to showing how she had the hots for Skeletor. So it definitely took Krita a long time to get to the point where she was her own character. And number 2, Flog. This might surprise some people, because Flog is one of those characters who drove me batty half the time, but yeah. I do find Flog an interesting character, as in the sense that he really is supposed to be the leader of the Evil Mutants. Now, even the series writers did seem to forget this half the time, but Flog actually acts like a character who is responsible for an entire military campaign. He always seems to be at the end of his rope, but he also seems to at least have a little bit of a sense of when one of Skeletor's plans is just utterly stupid. And I always like that there's a character who's willing to call out Skeletor in any version of He-Man. But that is, of course, only for the episodes where the writers remembered that Flog is not just a brainless underling. One of the other things that I really like about Flog, which was evident from my favorite episode, Glasnost Smasnost, is that while Flog is a military leader, he's not completely ruthless. There apparently seems to be some rule of conduct in the war between Primus and Nibria, which Flog is willing to accept. And because of that, I don't think Flog is necessarily even evil. Or if he is, he's a very lawful evil. But, of course, the number one thing that infuriates me about Flog is what the writers did with him half the time on the show, which is that half the time, Flog's brain seems to be completely missing, and he just does things impulsively and without any forethought. This honestly creates a really frustrating lack of consistency in his characterizations, because the episodes in which I like Flog the most are the ones where he's a bit more level-headed. But then again, whenever he does lose his temper with Skeletor, I always find that extremely entertaining as well. So, no surprises here, Flog reaches number 2 on these merits alone. And at number 1, of course, it's Slushhead. Slushhead is the quote-unquote comic relief character of the Evil Mutants, But he's also the mutant who got the most amount of exposure, and I just like the fact that he views the war against Primus as just a good time. He's typically just really happy to go into battle, he never has a rotten attitude, and you always kind of feel bad for him whenever the other characters tell him to shut up. I mean, Slushhead may be one of the bad guys, but he's just living his best life. Oh yeah, and one of my favorite episodes, of course, was the one where he actually got married. Kind of an unsurprising pick, but Slushhead is my favorite evil mutant. Sort of evil. I mean, not very evil at all, really. And that was the ranking. Tell me, what were your favorite evil mutants from the New Adventures of He-Man in the comments below. I'm TheHande. I have the power, so can you.